Hello friends, it's that time of year again to share with you all my most hyped movies of the upcoming year, and while 2023 was quite possibly one of my new favorite years of cinema, maybe top 3 favorites? Point is, this is usually the part where I say the next year may not be as strong as last, and I have to say that 2024 is looking to be potentially on par with 2023. We'll see how it goes as the year goes on, but since this is looking to be a special year of cinema, I'm here to share with you all my top 20 most anticipated movies of 2024. And as always, to prime this list, here are a few honorable mentions. Well, not a few, I just kind of wrote that in there to make it look good. But anyway, here's some honorable mentions. Madam Web. The trailer won me over, and I'm pumped to see another exciting corner of the Spider-Verse with these awesome new cinematic spider-based heroes and villains. Could go either way, but we'll have to wait and see. Imaginary. Seems like another fun original horror film from Blumhouse that could go either way as well. But I did enjoy something silly and creepy like last year's Megan and Five Nights at Freddy's, so I look forward to giving this one my time of day. Mufasa, The Lion King. I really love this new iteration for the world of The Lion King, my favorite Disney movie, and with Barry Jenkins at the helm, this will be an intimate and wondrous untold story I'm pumped to see unfold. Wicked Part 1, a phenomenal musical that looks to have a spectacular adaptation with the involvement of Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. Joker, Folie à Deux. The first film was a huge surprise and a phenomenal piece of comic cinema. So with the involvement of Joaquin Phoenix and filmmaker Todd Phillips, I can't wait to see this bizarre yet enthralling Joker and Harley musical. Bonus points for Lady Gaga. Saw 11. As a newer fan of the Saw franchise and considering Saw X was one of my favorite movies of 2023, you bet I was hyped when the 11th film in the franchise was announced. Wherever the series is headed, I cannot wait to see how John Kramer will serve up justice in his own maniacal way. The Garfield movie. I thought the trailer for this film looked hilarious, and this character has always had a special place in my heart ever since I was a kid reading the comic strips and watching the cartoon. This looks to be a faithful and fun adaptation. Ridley Scott's Gladiator sequel. With a visionary like Ridley Scott involved, adding to the story for what is one of the best films ever made, I can't wait to see what is brought to the story, and to see this sort of historical aesthetic brought into the cinema today. Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. I was genuinely impressed by the vision Zack Snyder gave to the previous entry that I couldn't get enough of the intriguing characters and lore, and I cannot wait to see how it'll eventually resolve in this upcoming entry. And now, here are my top 20 most anticipated movies of 2024. Number 20, Kung Fu Panda 4. The first 3 Kung Fu Panda movies can be hilarious, but just the themes and lessons incorporated that add to Poe's journey make these animated movies truly feel like art. Can't wait to see the 4th film. Number 19, A Quiet Place Day 1. These are such great, tense horror movies that really got under my skin, and John Krasinski did such a marvelous job building suspense within these movies that I'm hoping director Michael Samosky will recapture just as well, if not better. I can't wait to explore the origins of the alien conflict, while still pulling on those fantastic emotional beats that remind me why I love not just the previous 2 Quiet Place films, but horror films in general. Number 18, If. Speaking of John Krasinski, I am so pumped that he's developing another original film that I thought would have been horror this time around, but I was still very excited to see a wildly creative and hilarious tale that gives us an exciting look at the world of imaginary friends with a star-studded cast. And funnily enough, this will be another film about imaginary friends releasing this year, but with a much endearing twist that looks to have gut-busting laughs with lots of comfort. Number 17, The Fall Guy. With David Leitch at the helm and the stupendous acting chops of Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, you bet I'm pumped to see this movie. And while the action scenes look explosive and awesome, this may be one of the rare times where a comedy has been put in my most anticipated list. I just haven't really gelled with the comedy movies released today, but I love that this movie in particular feels like a pure action comedy at its finest. Number 16, Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. In spite of the rumors I've been hearing about Godzilla's minimal appearance in the movie, I'm pumped to see our lovable titans face another enormous threat that'll lead to more powerful spectacle that has potential to transcend all of the amazing Godzilla and Kong movies of the past. Can't wait to dive deeper into the lore and just have a bombastic blast at the movies. Number 15, Inside Out 2. I wasn't honestly sure if I needed to see another Inside Out movie, but the teaser won me over. The concept for the first film is such an inventive story, and I'm surprised I wasn't even more hyped to see what could be added to such an imaginative atmosphere in the mind of Riley. Seeing the new emotions will be so much fun, and I have no doubt this will pull on those amazing heartstrings. Number 14, Transformers 1. The Transformers franchise is for sure on the right track, with an absolutely amazing movie in Bumblebee and the fantastic Rise of the Beast that had a great focus on the robots in disguise, which is what I felt the previous films lacked. This movie in particular has me so hyped because we'll be able to have a total focus on the Autobots and Decepticons themselves, and the conflict that ensues in what should be an amazing animated Transformers movie for this day and age. Number 13, Alien Romulus. Sure, I personally would have loved to see Ridley Scott complete his Prometheus and Covenant trilogy, but a standalone film set in this universe directed by the wickedly talented Fede Alvarez is just as welcome. Alvarez does such an amazing job with bringing suspense into the mix, with the payoff of the horror being absolute carnage that adds to the horror. It isn't just violent for the sake of being violent, and I genuinely think his style of raw horror filmmaking is going to work for the Alien franchise. And I'm sure I'll feel those similar chills and suspense like I did with a Ridley Scott classic. Number 12, They Follow. The continuation of It Follows that none of us expected, but I'm genuinely interested to see how the horror from the last film will continue to impact the characters we saw the first time around. The concept is incredibly horrific, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it'll spin out of control even more. Not a whole lot of information just yet, but I feel less is more is never a bad thing for a hyped movie. Number 11, Mickey 17. Bong Joon-ho is an immensely talented director working today, and as a big fan of Snowpiercer, Okja, and Parasite, I cannot wait to see a dark, atmospheric, and emotionally insightful science fiction film helmed by him. The casting also looks promising with Robert Pattinson as the lead. Number 10, Argylle. As a fan of Espionage and Matthew Vaughn directing espionage films as we saw in the Kingsman series, I'm beyond excited to see a stylistically fun spy action film in this day and age that's also an original film. I love a good balance of franchises I know and love, but original movies like this remind me of the great creativity that goes on in the industry today. This looks to have a fun ensemble and stupendous action scenes with that cheeky and fun Matthew Vaughn flair he adds to all of his films. Number 9, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. My hype for this film skyrocketed as soon as I saw the first trailer that displayed that remarkable, state-of-the-art motion capture technology that brought those apes to life. I wasn't sure if I wanted it after the marvelous Rise of the Planet of the Apes trilogy, but this looks to add to the world in an exciting way, and the spectacle still looks as mind-blowing, if not better than before. Number 8, Furiosa. On paper, Furiosa prequel is never something I ever wanted as well, but with George Miller at the helm yet again, how can I not be excited for this movie? He directed quite possibly one of the greatest films of all time in Mad Max Fury Road, and to see that creativity let loose again in another installment with Anya Taylor-Joy playing the titular character, how can I not be pumped out of my mind to see this movie? I can't wait to see if this post-apocalyptic world will be expanded and what kinds of action scenes or just plain visuals I'll see this time around. Whatever it is, I'm sure it will be a visually stunning masterpiece and quite possibly one of the greatest in-universe prequels ever made. Number 7, Smile 2. The first movie was one of the biggest surprises in 2022 for me, and I was so intrigued by the lore and the possibilities that could arise of what could happen as soon as it ended on a cliffhanger. I'm so glad the popularity of the movie did well enough to have filmmaker Parker Finn write and direct a sequel of what he intended to just be a standalone movie. But to see where it could go and hopefully deliver us a cathartic ending makes this horror film series all the more exciting. I can't wait to give the first movie another watch and then see this movie in all its glory. Number 6, Beetlejuice II. I know, lots of sequels on this list, but there's just so much I'm excited to see this year that just happen to be sequels of movies I love. And Beetlejuice 2 is one of those movies because not only will it be awesome to see Tim Burton return to direct and Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder reprise their roles, but the fact that Burton stated this is some of the most fun he's ever had working on a movie has me so unbelievably ecstatic to see more of that darkly funny, gothic beauty shine in the best possible way. I know Burton is going all out with this movie, that it'll just be amazing for what it is, that I won't even care about it being a sequel to another film of his I love. I'm just so happy to see him be passionate with his filmmaking career because I am a big Tim Burton fan. And it'll be so much fun to see him deliver his magnum opus. Hopefully? Number 5, Nosferatu. this is by far one of my most anticipated horror films of all time. I love the original 1922 silent film, and the 1979 iteration needs a rewatch. But this new version, directed by Robert Eggers, I know will be in for a chilling and satisfying experience. I love the slow burn in his previous movies, and feel it works in this film's favor to culminate in a pretty terrifying climax. Bill Skarsgård, who I love portraying Pennywise, I think is going to once again knock it out of the park portraying another horror icon in Count Orlok. The rest of the cast looks perfect, and I just can't wait to see this amazing vision wash over me. Number 4, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I was never a Sonic the Hedgehog fan until the previous 2 movies came out, because let me tell you, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2 are absolutely delightful. And with Sonic 2 being an absolute firecracker of a movie ending the way it did, I was so gosh darn excited to see how it will continue with Shadow the Hedgehog in the mix. As excited as I am to dive into the games, I'm just glad the movies are still amazing for what they are. Great fun characters and wacky lore is what I need, and the Sonic the Hedgehog series is going to deliver more of that awesomeness in the 3rd film. Number 3, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Sadly, this movie was on last year's most anticipated list. But what's amazing is that we know for sure that this will be released this year, and with amazing trailer footage that still gives those amazing goosebumps and that fantastic companionship amongst the new and old ensembles of Ghostbusters. I also love how it's going all out with this new villain, which also means we'll be getting a huge variety of new ghost characters. So much cool horror, fantasy creativity involved. I can't wait to see how it'll shine on the silver screen. It's just a blast of a franchise, and I'm so pumped to finally see it. Number 2, The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. I've been hearing about this entry in the Middle-earth saga being made for so long now, and I'm honestly salivated to see a 2D anime film based on my favorite fantasy world next to Star Wars. And I love that this isn't a complete story no one quite knows about, with the history of Rohan and Helm's Deep, and just merely referenced in passing in the trilogy and other media. But this time around, it can go all out and be its own amazing thing, and I just can't wait to see this world captured in this beauteous animation style. I'm glad the approach is just to tell a complete story set in this world and can be its own thing, and maybe this will jumpstart the idea of there being new standalone Middle-earth movies that could be shared universe, or akin to Star Wars Visions, where it's a series of films with different animation styles set in Middle-earth. That said, I can't wait to see this story told and done in a magnificent fashion. And my most anticipated movie of 2024 might as well be my most anticipated movie of all time. This movie features one of my favorite characters of all time and my favorite superhero. And that movie is number 1, Deadpool 3. Of course I love the Merc with the Mouth and absolutely love his previous 2 movies with every fiber of my being. But the fact that we're dealing with the multiverse this time around, I'm so excited to see how a character like Deadpool will play around with that. There's so much creativity involved with that concept in comic books, and I'm hyped to see our lovable mutants on the big screen again, but with a more comic-accurate look. But let's be real, I've saved it for last because the character I was referencing that I'm so pumped to see grace the silver screen again is none other than James Logan Howlett, aka Weapon X, aka Wolverine. My favorite superhero of all time looks to have the greatest cinematic endeavor in the history of comic book cinema. Logan is still my favorite superhero comic book movie of all time, no doubt because of its amazingly serious approach to the character. But this movie looks to go all out with that amazing comic book craziness we know and love from the first 2 Deadpool movies, and then do it with the same exciting flair to Wolverine and the X-Men. I could go on about what's speculated about how the multiverse is coming into play, and how this movie will eventually pave into the major comic book movie events in both Avengers 5 and Secret Wars, but I'm just so pumped to see this movie give a character like Wolverine all the glory, and that he'll complement Deadpool nicely in his own amazing way. I don't mean to overhype it, but I definitely have a strong feeling that this could end up being my new favorite comic book movie, or at least in the top 3 or 5. Who knows, we're just going to have to wait and see. Anyway, 2024 looks like it's going to deliver amazingly. I am so excited, guys. Thank you all so much for watching my list. Look forward to more videos very soon. I do plan on adding more to this channel in the coming year. So much to be excited about, so much to cover. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everybody.